guys, I am Pixel Dan, and today we're going to be checking out the Masters of the Universe Origins Buzz Off, Heroic Spy in the Sky. That's right, another character straight out of the vintage Masters of the Universe toy line is brought back with modern posing and retro play here in the Origins toy line. And Buzz Off is a really exciting one to get in this lineup. I was pretty happy when he was revealed back at PowerCon, and he's starting to hit store shelves right now, so let's take a look at him. Of course, he comes in that standard blister card packaging with a brand new mini comic packaged behind the figure there. And as we rotate this around to the back side, we are once again treated to some absolutely gorgeous artwork at the top of the card back featuring Buzz Off in flight, with Skeletor, Evelyn, and Beastman on the ground down below. And then we get a cross-sell showing the new figures in this wave, along with He-Man and Skeletor, as well as an action feature call-out just showing how you can spread his wings, and of course, you can twist them in powerful battle positions. His articulation, essentially. So, Buzz Off looks great in package, but let's go ahead and get him pulled out and get a closer look at him. Alright, let's dive in and take a closer look at Buzz Off, but first it is worth mentioning that Buzz Off, like all the figures in this wave, do get a brand new mini comic, The Challenge of Jitsu. This is the comic that comes packaged with Buzz Off, Jitsu, Mini Comics, Stratos, and the Sorceress, and just like we've seen in previous waves, it features all of the characters within the comic here. So pretty cool stuff. I always love seeing the continuation of the mini comics. I think that's a great little tie-in and a great nod to the vintage toy line. And now we can dive in and look at Buzz Off here, which is very cool because he's a little more on the unique side from things that we've seen in this line so far. So bringing in the tape measure, you can see that the figure stands just shy of 6 inches tall. They're really in that 5.5 inch scale, just like the vintage toy line. So they do fit in quite nicely with the vintage figures, but with the added articulation, usually they can stand up a little straighter since they can actually bend their knees. And as I said, Buzz Off's got a lot more going on here. There's a lot of new details, stuff we haven't really seen in this line so far. In fact, most of him is brand new. We've got the new striped torso here with all the great details worked in between all the stripes there, so a torso that hopefully will get to be reused for characters like Whiplash. We've also got the more monster-like arms there, we've got the claws for hands, we've got those awesome monster legs with the bigger feet there, the big weird monster feet, and of course really cool head sculpt as well. I love that they kept sort of that metallic greenish blue color for the eyes, and he's even got the smile on his face, which is one of those things that Buzz Off is known for. The vintage figure had a smile. It's cool to see this one smiling as well. Of course, if we look at the back of the figure here, you can see the wings look a lot like those from the vintage figure, though I will say they're made of a much thicker, sturdier plastic this time around. The vintage ones were a little bit more pliable, and these are very rigid, but you can see all the same kind of detailing in there, almost like a circuitry type of detailing, which is what I always thought the vintage one looked like as well, so really cool stuff. And of course, those can just swivel up and down there as they're just attached to this little peg on his back. It's also worth mentioning that one of the things that is different on this guy is the longer little antenna on top of his head, which I really like. And this also comes into play with one of his accessories, which is his helmet. Now, his helmet has always been a bit goofy looking. It's got those big eyes on there that don't quite cover the eyes on his face. But one of the things I really like is that it's got the little holes drilled in the top there, which fit right over his longer antenna, which in turn helps the helmet to stay on his head better than the vintage toys ever did. So while it still just looks like a silly hat that he's wearing, I will say that it stays on his head better because of the antenna that are now sticking through. So I like that detail change quite a bit. So as far as the rest of the articulation goes, we do still have the nice ball joint there, so the head can look left and right, roll around. It is also removable on that standard ball joint for all the other figures. The arms can go outwards, forwards, backwards, with a swivel at the elbow, a bend at the elbow, and a swivel and a hinge at the wrist. So even though he's got those clawed hands, he still has the hinges there, which is great. And of course, the arms are removable at the shoulders, and the claws are removable at the wrists, just like the other hands. So some cool mixing and matching options there. You can swivel the torso at the waist, which also can be removed from that peg there. And then the legs can go outwards, forwards, backwards with a swivel at the knee, a bend at the knee, swivel at the boot cut, and then the ankles can move forwards, backwards, as well as rock side to side. So even though he's got these big, awkward feet, he can still stand flat. You can still get some pretty good poses out of him that match up with the posing with the other figures in the line. And aside from that helmet, the only other accessory he comes with, just like in the vintage toy line, is his axe. And this time around, he does hold it a little bit better. Now, not as good as I was hoping. It almost looks like they intended this to kind of snap in place, because you can see the inside of the claws there. It does have a bit of like a round sculpted piece, almost like it was meant for the axe to clip into it, but the axe doesn't really get in there all the way, and it doesn't really snap into place the way I was hoping. I was hoping for kind of like a little click to hold it in place, but instead it does kind of stretch his claws out, and look, he's holding it fine. It's not that big of a deal, but it does have a tendency to still pop out of the claws. So I wish it was a little bit tighter, but really, that's a minor complaint, because at least this time, he can hold onto his axe, which the vintage figure, you really couldn't do. You always had to do that weird thing where you like put the handle like over the claw like that. So at least this time around we can swivel his hands because of the articulation, and we can mostly squeeze that in between his claws so we can get a better grip on the axe. Pretty cool stuff. Alright guys, it's comparison time. So let's go ahead and take a look at Buzz-Off standing along his vintage action figure counterpart. So you can see very, very similar in design, but I think a lot of the changes that they made for the new one are really an improvement. And here he is standing alongside the Masters of the Universe Classics version, which was a 7-inch scale figure, so that way you can see the difference between these two. And there you go, my friends. There is a look at Buzz-Off from the Masters of the Universe Origins toy line. This is a really great figure. I like this one quite a bit. There is a lot going on here, and I definitely think he's the winner of this wave, at least so far, just because he's got so many new parts, and he just really feels very different from a lot of what we've gotten in the line so far. So quality all around, definitely worth picking up if you find this guy out in the wild, which, hey, he's hitting store shelves right now. This particular one was found at Target. So happy hunting, my friends, and until next time.